Um, First of all, thank you so much for inviting me tonight. Really excited to talk about things digital and government and civic and tech. So this is all wrapped up in one, and I'm really excited to be here to do that. My current role, I'm the Director of Product at the Ontario Digital Service. I've been working in digital for a very long time, been working in civic digital for a very long time. I started at the Toronto Public Library in 2007. I am an old person who's been doing this for a long time. And libraries are sort of incredible opportunities. It's effectively e-commerce in a non-e-commerce creepy way. You get a catalog, research, really, really interesting technology, an account, really sticky transactions. We had, I think, 66% of our users visited 8 or more times a month, which is pretty incredible. And of course, Toronto Public Library is one of the largest urban library systems in the world, most well used. And it was just a pleasure to be able to work there. And I work with an incredible team there as well. So we're here to talk to you about the website at Ontario.ca. And I want to just take you on a little bit of a history. It goes back really actually, about 15 years. But in 2012, they kind of made the big move. They moved from to what they called one site. And at the time, there were 200 websites run by Ontario, one for every ministry. So that's 20 plus, and then microsites galore. And so this was really about acknowledging that fragmented experience does not serve the public very well. We want a more cohesive experience. And so for the years following their one site strategy, where they had a unified design, there was just what we called migrations, and that just went on. There were migrations and constant bringing of different sites together under that one hood. And that went on for a number of years, as well as some products were being developed on the side that were sort of demonstrating both the use of the domain name, that unifier, as well as the design patterns to create a more integrated experience. And that kind of gets us to, and similarly, and I'll be talking about them in a minute, some of the core enablers of a more integrated experience. So we had the main website. We're going to talk about content management, and that was sort of running the website, but then we've since advanced into some other enablers. But then the pandemic hit, and then we all were hit by that, of course. And that really actually shifted the paradigm in so many ways, because there was just a need to okay, we've got to create one unified experience to share this information. We are talking to businesses because they have new regulations to follow. We're talking to the public. We are sharing data across the world. People from every jurisdiction, we're pulling down the data, run in our data catalog to be able to demonstrate how many cases exist in various jurisdictions. And it just really showed how you bring all of these pieces together in a cohesive way, and has really set a couple of new standards for how we think about things. And coming out of that, we really have been evolving sort of the vision and some of these building blocks as we go forward. So on the bottom, I've just listed things that kind of launched through our journey, but I think I'm going to get into some of the core pieces that we work on kind of day to day. This is a slide we use all the time when we talk about Ontario.ca, that we sort of started off in this world where we had static pages, largely offline transactions, lots of information, lots of government marketing, not particularly interactive. We have a lot more on online transactions now, actually many, many, many online transactions. Something like 50%, 57% of the highest volume transactions are done online right now with government, which is what you would imagine, your health card renewal, driver's license renewal, et cetera. But things are still kind of in separate portals. They can sometimes be visually connected through Ontario.ca. Everyone at least has the logo, but you're not getting that full seamless experience where you don't feel the transition when you move between them. Getting a little bit better, but our future is where that is the case. You don't feel like you've moved from a Ministry of Transportation product into a Ministry of the Environment product. From you as whether you're a business or a person, you feel a sort of seamless experience where content, the service, and all the supports necessary are in one service. So our vision, one consistent seamless experience for everything online, that single present for government. Trust is really big. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And that it's more than just this static content. You experience the government through that one domain name. And I think if we think of strong, successful online digital brands, whether you like them or not, people like Apple or Amazon, they have a very cohesive experience online. And that's kind of the experience. We just don't want people to think. I was saying to someone today, Sharon, this morning, I started my day with Sharon. We met with people from Estonia, and they talked about this in a way, of course, their first languages were Estonian. So it was amazing that they said almost exactly the same language I like to use, which is people need to get on with other stuff in their lives. They're not here to work with government. And so what I replied back to that was yeah, we should be unmemorable. People should get in, get out. The fact that you had to deal with government shouldn't be something that you remember. So our guiding principles, trust and legitimacy. This is actually huge. I think we all saw and we continue to see every time the government launches a program, fake text messages go out telling people to click a link to be able to get their money from the program. That happened all through the pandemic. I think the feds must have experienced that. I heard there's a gentleman here from cyber and the feds. I'm sure you paid attention to that. We had our catch-up payments that was for families. Same thing happened. So how important are these heuristics that tell people you're on a legitimate site, the domain name, something easy to parse and understand. So if it's going to be acronym filled and multi-part, you're probably going to be, tripping people up a little because they have to interpret that. Obviously, really high quality, consistent design. Well, people do kind of imitate the design. It's always a bit off. So you do really want to condition people to a very consistent and high quality design. That's really, really key. And of course, for good, Google and others really do prioritize government sites and search. They decided that these things are going to come up to the top for key types of functions. And so optimizing for that search engine optimization means that people are hitting you at the first as they go through the search experience. And I'll show you some stats on how many people start their journey there in a minute. Consistency is so key, not only user-centered design, which of course gives you the high quality and designing that whole experience from Google all the way to someone's inbox if you're sending them a communication confirming something. Applying design systems are really, really important. And ensuring teams that try to do this have all the tools at their disposal to be successful at doing that. And that's going from having one site to having tools that allow other people to create things that feel like one site is really kind of the big shift we've made in the last few years. And the last one is about, and this is really important, it's not reasonable that one organization can run everyone's services. It's just an implausibility for a million reasons. In addition to just capacity, the further you are away from the program and the policy, your incentives are totally misaligned. So, the ministry that works on health card renewals, and this is a problem. I mean, we have this, I think the feds have this. We actually have separate organizations that administer health services to the ones that administer sort of card renewals. And that actually creates a bit of a challenge for people because health's like, well, whatever, just do the renewals for us. But the ministry trying to do the online renewals wants to see policies change to make that happen more frequently online. And you often get into that friction. So as much as possible, where it makes sense, leaving the ministries who run the services with close connections to the policy people that set the tone for how these services are developed and managed. That's where these services get run from. So providing them tools and not trying to be the center of everything is a key one. So what do we do from the center? We don't do this alone. We work really, really closely with Cabinet Office, which is where the communications team is. They obviously work very, very closely with the Premier's office in Ontario and, in other levels of government. You'd have the mayors or the Prime Minister's office, but really, really close relationship with them, setting these design standards. And when I say close relationship, they are on our teams. They work directly with us. So we are not kind of just collaborating kind of over a wall kind of thing, that we're literally working side by side. David was here, was from Cabinet Office. He was, and we're going to get to the design system in a minute. He was on the design system team, a founding member in fact. So that just demonstrates that you have to do this as a team. It is definitely a team sport to get this done. And through that work, setting those standards. And then, of course, being able to support people, having teams that are persistent. So you have to be able to support people. Our design system, I'll talk about in a second, has drop-ins, really helping people adopt it, hearing what people's needs are, being responsive to those needs, really, really key. And then the governance piece is also really important. We've got to set some rules. Things are becoming standards and they're official. We have to have persistent horizontal and vertical collaboration to get those things done, but also a bit of carrot, a bit of stick, those feedback loops that all helps build trust and ensures people want to take the path that you're on as opposed to being forced to do so. Just some key stats. Everyone likes to see stats. So 12 million monthly visits, 6.7 million users, roughly 75% comes from search or social media, 50% for mobile devices, which is an interesting number. I think it's a lot higher on the weekends, but of course, during the week, people are sitting at computers doing jobs, and a lot of people who do their jobs need to deal with government information to do so. So that's an interesting number. Just in terms of and I know Sam's online and Nick and Andrew, our content management system, we create about 1,000 pages a month. We edit about 2,500, around 85,000 pages in our CMS, 154 editors across the government, and about 450,000 searches are happening on the website across various products per month. So when I say teams, I mean teams. We have really 6 core teams. Now, this, of course, doesn't include the operational teams in Cabinet Office. They have a whole organization of content teams. They have specific experts who work with every ministry and portfolio. So I'm not including them, but just in terms of like the foundational teams that build some of the key technology, this is it. Doesn't include cyber, doesn't include our infra teams. They're also there. So it's really, this is more some of the sort of products that kind of stitch together, but there's an underlying set of foundational things that of course have to be in place. Each of these teams has a product manager, and we collaborate and has multiple players from different organizations. And I'm now going to just spend a few minutes sort of talking a little bit about each of them. I don't know if everyone's familiar with what a design system is, but this is a product that launched in 2019. Prior to that, the government had a design guide or design toolkit kind of thing that was online. And this sort of took it to a next level. It sort of took its lead from Google Material Design. I think Shopify's got a good one. IBM has a good one. The BBC. And our goal here with this product is that the whole of the Ontario government delivers consistent and high quality online experiences. It really sort of touches on two key pieces. The design pieces, like how does it look? What are the colors, the typography, the layout, that kind of stuff. It also is about how it works for users, its behavior, navigation, selection, user inputs, flows. And this is a product that just keeps growing because needs keep evolving. I think there's a question in the chat, maybe. Am I right? Nope, someone's linking to it. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, great. So, this is I touched on it. It's such a critical part of that legitimacy piece. So important. It's a growing problem, and design consistency and quality adherence are one heuristic that let folks know they're on a real service and the experience can be predictable for users. As what we've noticed in the recent years, as teams across government that are trying to adopt the design system are building things, their sophistication is growing. And with their sophistication comes greater demand for different and more unique components. So they have a never-ending backlog of things they're trying to meet those needs, which is just really great. And they just continue to work and go from strength to strength on that. Sorry, I'm just gonna put forward here. There we go. Content management. So we've got some real content manager people here with us tonight. Sam is online. So is Andrew and Nick. These are, our senior manager of tech, an engineering manager, and Sam's the senior product manager for the content management system. This is the tool where, as I said, 154 people across government are creating content and putting it online every day. It's really geared towards SEO and like leveraging the metadata standards and things that really optimize for that. A recent focus has been, and I think this is the reality of content management systems, you're upgrading software, you're kind of moving from like version to version. So a lot of work around that. There's also been a lot of interesting integration with our data catalog. In addition to sort of your basic static content page, how do you get people to they have a spreadsheet of data, they want that to display kind of in a nice way in a table or be used in some way online. And so they've been working on some components that bring that together. So again, no developers required to create a page that has sort of tabular or data on it. They're going to be thinking about data visualizations, looking at sort of template design to try and adopt that more seamlessness between our applications and our content pages. Really exciting stuff happening in this space. An essential core element of any high quality website is a pretty robust and well-managed content management system. Next up, we've got search. This is a team we actually we've always had search on Ontario.ca. And it's funny, we just made a bunch of pretty basic improvements using Elasticsearch. And I remember talking to the product manager and I was like, okay, it was so bad. We should have shut it off. That was so terrible. It was not working at all. So I'm really proud to say we fixed a bunch of things and we're continuing to focus a team on it. Everything from stemming, pluralization, typo tolerance, all those things that you expect out of the box. We're working right now, as the picture depicts, on sort of what we call auto suggest. And then thinking of search as a service, we continue to hear groups around government who want a little search as part of the seniors guide, and they want search over here. And so how can we do that and create sort of a robust, because search, as everyone knows, that index becomes a pretty high quality data set. And so it's a really interesting strategy for us to leverage the capabilities of search to be a holder of some of that really important data to be able to display in different contexts. Right now, we run about 8 different search implementations across different products. And different needs. Our e-laws is obviously different than our data catalog. we very much search in different ways. We have our main website search and search across different things. So just thinking about how that all works together. And we're doing sort of as I said, a big transformation. Next up for what we're doing on search, more structured data, thinking about how we bring in things like locations and other pieces, and even thinking about where generative AI fits, because we think there's opportunity there. And we're going to do a few experiments and see kind of what might stick, and who knows, that could just be very transformative. Site searches, I mean, everyone probably experiences this. When was the last time you went to a website where you went, that's a good search on that website? Like, that just doesn't happen, right? Amazon's not bad, but like generally speaking, so I do think that the generative AI stuff could really be kind of game changing in a way that I don't think we've seen before, and sort of like for little teams that try to run search. Now, if I go to the next one, almost done, just a couple more. Information architecture. So Sharon, who's here with us today, is working on this. This is a hard graft, I'll tell you. We're talking about organizing, labeling, navigation, all the information and services, page titles, names, leads, the components of navigation. There's quite a bit in here to make this make sense. And it's also a very tricky political thing. We're talking about the homepage and where you bounce off. So there's a lot of people interested in what that looks like. And so working through processes, again, so important for that relationship with the center, to be able to work through things with our colleagues and, of course, the Premier's office, who cares deeply about these things. But also sort of diving deep on sort of like, right now they're focused in driving and roads a bit and trying to really understand opportunities in that space and coming up with a revision to this. These topics, I think, were launched, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and they're actually pretty good. And this is a good example of trying to be horizontal as opposed to be trying to be ministry focused. And we're just going to continue to bounce off that notion and make it better and better. I got 2 more for you, and then I'm done. Sorry if this is going a bit long. Oops, hold on. Almost done. Okay, oops. Service integration. So this one's a really interesting one, because this is where we get at that shared domain name. How do we enable people that are building services to show a product under the Ontario.ca domain name that feels seamless, even if the product is run on by a separate organization? This code is on a separate set of cloud infrastructure, and it isn't all joined up into sort of one directory structure. So a couple of things are being explored. We've experimented with kind of reverse proxy for one product, I think, right now. We haven't really patternized that in a way that we can use it. This is our second approach. We're going to get back to that one, but our second approach, which is giving people sort of a decoupled front end that they can deploy. We'll host it for them, but they can run the application entirely and then deploy scripts and that kind of thing. And so really interesting opportunities here. The other benefit of doing it this way is that the toolkit itself, the Jamstack toolkit, and if people don't know what Jamstack stands for, it is JavaScript, API, markup. I think those are the 3 letters. So it's trying to, you're like separate front end, but we can put the design system right in it, bake it right in. So when someone goes to like pull up one of these products to be able to code it, all of the components are in there. It does require you to have front end developers, something that is not as common as one would hope across government. But when we do find them, they have great success with them, and it does work in certain contexts. But as I said, we're kind of looking at that other approach where how might we patternize some of that more sort of proxy kind of work for teams where someone's running it on their infrastructure and in their own way, and we can reverse the proxy. So that's going to be happening there. So interesting stuff. And then lastly, sorry, I'm just having to, there we go, locations. So this started in the pandemic. It actually was kind of underway for Service Ontario before the pandemic. Would you believe in 2018, there were not web pages on the Ontario government website that told you the hours or information about a location for Service Ontario? That didn't exist. So we were like, well, that seems like a problem. So we created those, launched it in the pandemic, where it was very important because every 5 days something was open for different reasons and different hours, and it was changing so rapidly they needed to have that online for people. And then we've taken that further. We've now got courts, long-term care homes, where we talk about sort of the home itself, inspection reports, its capacity, its wait list, things like that, pharmacy locations for COVID, and we're going to be looking at schools and public health units. And like, it's funny, we're all digital, but there are a lot of locations in government and they do a lot of things. And so this sort of pattern of like how you navigate and have these canonical references for locations are key. Massive amount of data flow. Everyone does this differently. On Service Ontario, to their credit, they have an API. Our friends in the long-term care home field, they've got 8 different, CSV files. Our friend over in courts has an XML file. Everyone's a little bit different, and you get what you get, and you don't get upset. But you got to like kind of build those pipelines to get that data in, giving them tools to sort of heal, so you're not, you know, stuck in a world where the developers have to do everything. And of course, then also pump it right back out. All our Service Ontario locations pump directly out to Google, so we have that consistency and people are able to find stuff where they are. Anyway, that's it. I've talked nonstop for maybe 20 minutes, so I apologize. There you go. Happy to answer any questions, and look forward to chatting with folks about stuff.